A fish's fishy tales. In the peaceful blue waters of the Johnson family's living room aquarium, there lived a fish named Frank. Frank wasn't your average fish. He had a pair of thick, stylish spectacles perched on his nose. While most of the other fish swam about in their usual chaotic fashion, Frank took his time, gliding majestically around the tank with the calm grace of a philosopher. His glasses, which he had somehow acquired from the human family's odd habit of leaving things scattered about, were his pride and joy. But Frank's pride wasn't just in the glasses. He had a tale to tell, one that no fish in the tank had ever heard before. One day, as Frank was swimming near the bottom of the tank, a new fish was added to the aquarium. It was a small, shy goldfish named Finny, with shimmering golden scales and eyes as wide as saucers. Finny swam nervously around, unsure of where to go in this strange new world. Frank, with his wise old gaze behind those trendy spectacles, couldn't help but notice the poor thing's confusion. "Hey, kid," Frank called out, his voice a bubbly echo in the water. Finny stopped mid-swim and turned, startled. "Oh, hello? You're talking to me." Frank gave a dramatic sigh and adjusted his glasses. "Of course I am. Who else would I be talking to? The filter? I mean, sure, it's been known to gossip, but I prefer to talk to the living, you know." Finny blinked. "Wait, you can talk? Fish don't talk, right?" Frank chuckled in a low, bubbly laugh. "Oh, you poor thing. You're new here, aren't you? Fish have been talking for centuries. It's just that the humans never understood. But we're quite the conversationalists, if you ask me." He winked, though it was hard to tell behind his oversized spectacles. Finny swam closer, still looking unsure but also curious. "Okay, so what's the deal with the glasses? Do fish need glasses?" Frank puffed out his gills in mock indignation. "Need them? Need them? My dear young friend, these aren't just glasses, they're a lifestyle. You see, a few years ago, I couldn't even tell where the food was when it dropped into the tank. But now I can read the fine print on the fish food labels." Finny tilted his head. "Fine print? For fish food?" "Exactly," Frank said, swimming in tight circles of excitement. "The fine print. Turns out, some of the food says contains traces of other fish. If you'd been around long enough, you'd understand why that's very important information." Finny was starting to get the idea that Frank was a bit eccentric, but he was also intrigued. "So, what's life like for a fish with glasses, anyway?" Frank took a long, dramatic pause before answering. "Well, my friend, let me tell you. When I first got these bad boys, it was life-changing. Before the glasses, I was swimming around, bumping into walls, missing out on all the good stuff. But with these glasses, I became the sharpest fish in the tank, hands down." Finny floated in rapt attention. "Really? What kind of things did you notice that you couldn't before?" The little things," Frank said with a smile. "For example, I can now spot when the humans sneak in extra fish flakes for me to nibble on. No one else in the tank has that advantage." Finny's eyes widened. "You mean you've been able to get extra food all this time?" Frank nodded, looking smug. "Oh yes, indeed. While the others are distracted by their endless swimathons, I'm quietly plotting my snack attacks. But there's more. I can see all the details, like how the filter constantly breaks and how nobody ever cleans the tank properly. Honestly, I'm practically the aquarium's watchdog." Finny floated a little closer. "So, you're like a fish superhero?" Frank puffed out his chest, clearly loving the comparison. "Superhero? Oh, I'm more of a fish celebrity. I'm well known around here. The other fish all come to me for advice. When there's a problem with the water temperature, they come to me for my wisdom. When someone's in trouble, they know Frank's got the inside scoop." He paused, adding in a more serious tone, "It's a tough gig, but someone's got to do it." Finny was in awe. "That sounds incredible. I didn't think life in the aquarium could be so interesting." Frank gave a sly grin. "Oh, it's more than interesting, kid. You see, the aquarium is just the beginning. There's a whole world out there beyond the glass. I've seen it. And let me tell you, it's wild." Finny's eyes grew even wider. "What do you mean? You've been outside the tank?" Frank nodded, his glasses slipping slightly down his nose. Oh, yes, I've been outside. In fact, I'm something of an expert on the outside world. The human family, they leave the lid off sometimes. It's a big mistake, you know. They think they're being all clever, giving us fresh air. But what they don't realize is that it's an invitation for adventure. Finny was almost vibrating with excitement. Tell me more. What's it like out there? Frank swam in circles, his expression becoming more animated. Oh, it's chaotic, my friend. The humans live in a constant state of madness. I once saw the family cat launch itself across the room, leaping through the air like some sort of flying predator. I had a front row seat to the whole thing. The cat didn't see me, thankfully, but I saw it all. I saw the light flicker from the TV, the hum of the fridge, the relentless ticking of the clock. And then, there's the most terrifying thing of all, the vacuum cleaner. Finny's gills flared nervously. The vacuum cleaner? What is that? Frank's voice dropped to a whisper. Oh, it's a monstrous device, a swirling cyclone of doom. It's got this long hose that reaches into every corner of the room, and it makes a sound like the wrath of 1,000 thunderclaps. I've seen it suck up everything in its path, dust, crumbs, even the occasional lost sock. Once, I thought it might come for me, but luckily, I was safely behind a cushion. Finny shuddered. That sounds awful. I can't imagine living out there. Trust me, it's not all bad, Frank continued, his tone lightening. You get to see the humans. You get to observe their strange behaviors. Like, for example, how they talk to plants. They'll water them, sing to them, and sometimes even apologize to them when they forget. The humans can be a little weird, but that's part of the charm. Do you think we could ever live outside the tank? Finny asked, his voice filled with wonder. Frank paused, then shook his head. Oh, kid, it's tempting, but no. The outside world might look exciting, but it's a whole different beast. I once tried to escape during a water change. I slipped right out of the tank. It was exhilarating for about 10 seconds. Then, the cat saw me. Finny gasped. What happened? Frank's eyes widened in mock horror. The cat. The cat was upon me like a shadow in the night. I was flopping around on the floor, gasping for water, and the cat, oh, that devilish beast, was so close. But then, Frank's voice dropped to a whisper. The humans saved me. They scooped me up with a net just in time. I've never been so relieved in my life. Finny looked awestruck. Wow! So, you've escaped the tank before? Frank nodded gravely. Once. But after that, I realized the tank was my home. Sure, it's small and a bit limiting, but it's safe. And besides, there's always food, and there's always something to gossip about. Finny laughed, finally relaxing. Sounds like you've had quite the adventures. Frank grinned, his spectacles gleaming. Oh, you have no idea. But for now, let's stick to what we know. The tank's not so bad once you get used to it. And remember, with glasses like these, you're always ahead of the game. The two fish swam side by side, and for the first time since arriving in the tank, Finny felt at ease. The aquarium, with its glass walls and bubbling filter, wasn't so bad after all. And if Frank, the fish with spectacles and stories to tell, could make it all seem like an adventure, maybe there was a bit of magic to life under the water after all.